Hello. There are three components to the cortical speech planning and programming. Conceptualization is the blueprint idea. The speaker needs to get their thoughts together before they speak so the listener can understand them. Language planning is a cognitive process that takes place. The speaker is thinking about the words they are going to say before they say them. And motor planning is the highest level of the motor system. It entails formulating the strategy of action by specifying motor goals. The plans are goal-oriented and reflect strategies about what to do, but not about specific details of the journey. New plans are not formulated each time speech takes place. As speech is learned, feedback is stored in the sensory-motor memory. Motor programs for speech specify commands for movements such as direction, force, range, and rate. These can all be modified. The direct activation pathway's basic function is to influence controlled, skilled, voluntary movements, wherein the indirect activation pathway's basic function is to regulate reflexes and maintain posture and tone that support and accompany voluntary movements. When the direct and indirect activation pathway are impaired, a spastic dysarthria may occur. Spastic dysarthria speech characteristics are abnormal. The spastic dysarthria's abnormal speech characteristics are prosodic excess, articulatory resonatory incompetence, prosodic insufficiency, and phonatory stenosis. These speech abnormalities are caused from impaired movement patterns and the effects on speed, tone, strength, and steadiness. Sample 96 is a great example of spastic dysarthria because there are characteristics of monopitch and monoloudness, harshness, slow rate, hypernasality, and strangled voice quality in the patient's speech. The control circuit's basic function is to coordinate sensory information and activities of the direct and indirect activation pathways to control movement. When the control circuit is impaired, an ataxic dysarthria may occur. Ataxic dysarthria's speech characteristics are articulatory inaccuracy, prosodic excess, phonatory prosodic insufficiency, harshness, and monopitch and monoloudness. These speech abnormalities are caused from impaired coordination and the effects on strength, speed, tone, and accuracy. Sample 30 is a great example of ataxic dysarthria because there are characteristics of irregular articulatory breakdowns in the patient's speech. The final common pathway's basic function is to stimulate muscle contraction and movement. When the final common pathway is impaired, a flaccid dysarthria may occur. Flaccid dysarthria speech characteristics are hypernasality, imprecise consonants, breathiness, monopitch and monoloudness, nasal emission, audible inspiration, harsh voice quality, and short phrases. The speech abnormalities are caused from atrophy and the effects on speed, range, and accuracy. Sample 91 is a good example of flaccid dysarthria because there are characteristics of hypernasality, imprecise consonants, and nasal emission in the patient's speech. Hyperkinetic dysarthria is caused when the basal ganglia is impaired inside the control circuits. Parts of the circuit inhibit movement and parts of the circuit excite movement. Observing non-speech movements are important because the involuntary movements are so peculiar. Spasmodic dysphonia and organic voice tremors make up 70% of the cases of dysarthria. Spasmodic dysphonia reflects dystonic movements of the laryngeal muscles. It can be adductor, abductor, or mixed. Adductor is the most common. The speech characteristics of spasmodic dysphonia are strained and strangled voice and voice stoppages. Sample 21 is a great example of spasmodic dysphonia because there are characteristics of a strained voice and voice interruptions. Organic voice tremors occur with sustained posture and action, and they affect the head, upper limbs, and voice. The speech characteristics are caused from voice fluctuations, reduced speed, steadiness, strength, and tone. Sample 17 is a great example of voice tremors because there are characteristics of rhythmic fluctuations. Hypokinetic dysarthria is caused when the basal ganglia is damaged inside the control circuits. It affects rigidity, reduced force, and range of motion. All of these symptoms are known as Parkinson's disease. Hypokinetic dysarthria's speech characteristics are monopitch and monoloudness, reduced stress, short phrases, variable rate, short rushes of speech, and imprecise consonants. The speech characteristics are caused from reduced range, amplitude, and poor flexibility, and the effects on speed, tone, and accuracy. Sample 100 is a great example of hypokinetic dysarthria because there are characteristics of monopitch, monoloudness, prosody, and articulatory prosodic. Apraxia of speech is caused by damage to the left cerebral hemisphere. This is a neurological speech disorder that reflects an impaired capacity to plan or program sensorimotor commands necessary for directing movements. The result is phonetically and prosodically normal speech. Speech characteristics are groping, off-target efforts to achieve postures and movements, inability to imitate or follow commands, to perform volitional movements of speech structures, such as cough, blow, or click tongue. These speech characteristics are due to damage to the motor speech programmer, causing reduction in accuracy, strength, and range. Sample 79 is a great example of apraxia because there are characteristics of groping and vocalization or verbalization as part of or in place of the target. Thank you for listening.